We are live.
Professor Triveni, a very good afternoon, greetings, and welcome to our Day 4 Smart and Safe Cities at Ignite 2021 What Next? Today, we have reached at our panel 4 discussion, which is smart ways of ensuring safe cities towards protecting the citizens. While we have some very august and expert panelists with us who are leaders in their respective fields, and I would like to welcome them. But before that, I would also like to share the session brief that we wish to have the discussion around. And so basically, we have spoken about various aspects of smart cities, the challenges, what is the need, what is the agenda. I think somebody is okay, okay, sorry. So, while we have spoken about various challenges, the need of the day in the Indian context, and also we have understood how India is positioning as a country, as a smart nation also, and the digital transformation is required, technology is important, the best practices that are happening, there are many challenges are there, but moving on, there is also a very crucial aspect, which is the safety of. I mean, we have to ensure the safety of the smart cities. We have to have a smart and safe cities. The track will not be completed unless we have touched upon this particular aspect, which is a seminal one. So I'll not take much time here, but I'll just talk briefly about the session brief. While the increase in urban populations will not be without its challenges, technology presents the opportunities to create smart, safe environments. Smart technologies can help cities meet these challenges, and they're already enabling the next wave of public investment. It all starts with data. Finding the insight in all that data helps municipal governments respond to fluid situations, allocate resources wisely, and plan for the future. Furthermore, putting real-time information into the hands of individuals empower them to make better decisions and play a more active role in shaping an overall performance. As the nation gets smarter, they become more livable and more responsive. And today we are seeing only a glimpse of what technology could eventually do. The session throws light on how, with the right system in place, governments will be able to effectively plan development, reduce crime rates, deliver efficient public transportation, and drastically lower energy consumptions, to name just a few of the possible benefits. We welcome a very strong set of panelists here, and I welcome our moderator, Shri Vikram Sehgal, Inspector General of Police, CRPF Rajasthan. He is finding little challenges with the technology here. So while we wait for him to join us, I would invite Shri Brijesh Singh, Special Inspector General of Police, Admin, Maharashtra State, Mumbai. Sir, I welcome you and thank you for taking your time out and joining us for this session. And we also have Professor Triveni Singh. Professor Triveni Singh, you are Superintendent of Police, Cybercrime, Uttar Pradesh Police. Sir, we would first of all, if you can just introduce yourself and the kind of, you don't need an introduction, but for the larger audience, if you can just introduce yourself, the work that you are doing, and what are the projects or programs that are keeping you engaged nowadays. If I may ask, Shri Brijesh Singh first.
So I am presently posted as IG Administration at the police headquarters. I look after the budgeting, planning, finance, and other aspects of police administration for the whole state of Maharashtra. Earlier to this, I held two charges. One was I worked as Inspector General of Police Cyber for the state of Maharashtra for last 5-6 years, and I was also the press secretary, Director General Information and Public Relation, and Secretary for Public Relation and Information for the government for the state of Maharashtra. And at the time, one could implement a lot of citizen-centric services, and we are going to talk about that in the course of our discussions. Rashmi, you are muted.
So thank you so much for this very precise introduction that you have shared with us. I would request Professor Triveni Singh, sir, can you also throw some light, introduce yourself, the kind of work that you are doing, what is the current engagement that you have, and then we move on to take qualified questions.
Yeah, I am Trivedi Singh, Superintendent Police Cybercrime. Currently, we have 18 cybercrime police stations in Uttar Pradesh, located at each commissionerate, range headquarters. And I am supervising all those 18 cybercrime police stations. So, better I would like to highlight what are the grievance, dealing mechanism in UP, how we deal with cybercrime cases, and then I would like to speak on what are the magnitude of the cybercrime that we are facing nowadays. I mean, right from 2013 when CCTNS started till now, what has been and how the cybercrime landscape has changed. I would speak over that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Shri Vijay Singh, thank you so much for your, Professor Tiwari, thank you so much for your very brief introduction. Sir, now my next question, my first question goes to Shri Vijay Singh. Sir, please, can you just share the entire scenario of Maharashtra when I talk about understanding the crime situation, what is in the smart city context, what are the various programs, technology, interventions that are taking place that you have carried forward or you're implementing? Can I ask that?
So, in fact, there has been a spurt in citizen-centric services, and Maharashtra has led from the forefront on all these initiatives. So, going a little back, CCTNS, which something Triveni also referred to, has been an old central government project, but was having challenges of implementation all across the states. So we completed the implementation, and we went live with CCTNS, crime and criminal, network and control systems in in September of 2015. It has been a system of digitization of all police work, like right from station diaries to case diaries to investigation. All of this crime work has been digitized. So when we went live, after that, today all our FIRs, all the FIRs that you register, every FIR that you register, is registered in a digital format, and this gives a good chance for supervision, that it is real time, and it has non-repudiation built into it, in the sense that there are timestamps and you cannot tinker with this. So it is a genuine and authentic record of what is happening in a police investigation. We could also digitize a lot of old records, like 20-year-old records. Some crores of records we could digitize, and now it is a searchable database, wherein for any modus operandus, or any person-based or vehicle-based search, we can search through this platform. Apart from that, various other initiatives have been taken. Like in the smart cities, probably Mumbai is one place where you have an excellent CCTV surveillance system, which enhances public safety, which also becomes a tool for investigation later on. We also have, which is something which is about to be implemented. It's called Automated Multimodal Biometric Identification System, AMBIS, which is basically fingerprint, iris, facial recognition, but it is specifically a criminal justice application. So earlier you used to have fingerprint bureaus. We still have fingerprint bureaus, where for forensic purposes, you take the fingerprints of people who are arrested in specific crimes. And then these are compared against, let's say, chance print, which criminals leave at the scenes of robbery, theft, dacoity, murders, other physical offenses. So these fingerprints are picked and matched against this data set with the fingerprint bureaus. Now this has been totally automated. So it's just about to be implemented. This system of AMBIS has been deployed in Maharashtra. Old physical records of fingerprints have been digitized. A database has been made. Connectivity has been established. Devices have been given to police stations. training has been imparted. The legalities of using this evidence in electronic form have been sorted out. So this has also been one of the very successful projects. So similarly, a lot of technology programs have been carried out, especially in Maharashtra, where right from conceptualization to implementation, the government of Maharashtra has led from the forefront, and this has enhanced the safety and security of citizens as well as delivery of services. Yeah, Rashi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Professor Triveni Singh, are you there? Professor Triveni Singh, are you
Yeah.
there? Sir, can you just switch on? Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Sir, we would also like to hear from you as to how, because Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh is, of course, the largest state, of course, but then Maharashtra also comes second to Uttar Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh. These are all big states. So the challenges are huge, and it is really important that we have safety measures right there with the help of technology. And in the context of, we were talking about smart cities, we are talking about a smart and safe nation, then it is definitely one of the seminal pillars of being a smart city. So how do you see the programs that you have taken up, or the programs that you have implemented in the context of cyber safety in your city?
Yeah, let me highlight some statistics first. Since CCTNS, as Brijesh had told, CCTNS went live in 2013. And since then, up to 31st December 2020, we have got more than 36,000 cases registered in UP, cybercrime cases. But surprisingly, last year, MHA started a web portal, cybercrime.gov.in, and anyone can file his cybercrime complaint over that. So, in last 16 months, we have got more than 36,000 cases from that portal itself. So you can see the magnitude. In last 7-8 years, we have got 36,000 cases registered in UP, and in last 16 months only, 1.5 year, we have got 36,000 plus cases reported on central website started by MHA. One more startling figure I would like to talk about: cyber tip line. This figure is coming from National Commission for Missing and Exploited Children. And that figure which is coming from the again MHA, that amounts to 19,000 cases related to child pornography. So what's my duty as a SP cybercrime? I have to supervise all these cybercrime cases, their investigation, even in technical assistance, coordination with other state, and even international agency, all service provider, telecom, ISP. So my duty is to coordinate, to provide them technical assistance. So what kind of structure we are having in UP? We are having a dedicated cybercrime team at police station, 2-3 constables, sub inspectors. They are trained, and then again we have a cybercrime cell at district level. We have 75 districts in Uttar Pradesh, a cybercrime cell at district level. So those operate under a district police chief, and we have dedicated cybercrime police station, 18 police station, which I am supervising from the DGP headquarters. Here is a cybercrime headquarters. It's headed by Additional Director General Police, and then SP Cyber. For training, we are conducting training in online mode. We have a proper training center here. All the infra, all the forensic tools are. We have impaneled trainers, and it's a government by it's a scheme by central government, MHA, CCPWC. So we are training not only police, we are training prosecutors, judiciary, and even going to the school level by organizing seminar, conferences, and in most of the cases, just yesterday only we had a webinar with all the pensioners, the ex-employees who have been retired, and they are getting victim to different kind of cybercrime. So on the awareness front, we are doing a lot. On training, continuously we are training. Now because of COVID-19, there was some problem. That's why in offline mode we could not provide the training, but online training, it's already going. As far as grievance redressal mechanism is concerned, my chief minister, he has personally ensured that there is a website, jansunwai.in. Anyone can complain his cybercrime cases by just opening on the jansunwai.nic.in. Then another channel we have started. You can go and dictate your problems, even cybercrime cases, on 1076. It's a CM helpline. You can register your problems over there. That immediately comes to our portal and we look into. We have got integrated 112 emergency response mechanism is integrated with women department also. If somebody is calling 1098, which is exclusively dedicated to girls problem, specifically cyberbullying, cybergrooming, stalking cases, then they report this immediately to 1098. They call. Some lady officers are there. They note their call, and the entire data is integrated with our 112 systems. So we have more than 3,200 PRV van here, and the response time is only 15 to 10 minutes. So if some boy is stalking someone online and she is reporting case through 1098, or she is calling 112, then in next 10 and 15 minutes the police van reaches there. If the case is very technical, then the case is referred to the cyber headquarter, and we have got a help desk sections. They immediately start talking to all the stakeholders, I mean service provider. They immediately get the data, be it bank, be it wallet company, be it internet company, telecom operators. So they immediately pull all the data, they analyze and find out where the criminal is, and we give this data and this support to the local law enforcement agency at the district level, and I mean, immediately the criminals are arrested. So this is the way we are functioning in UP. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Triveni, for this wonderful information, and it has also sort of boosted our confidence as women. It has definitely ensured that we are in safer hands. Now, Shri Vijay Singh, how do you see, because as it is, Mumbai is it's considered to be, as compared to, I mean, we come from Delhi and NCR, we still feel personally also, we feel that okay, Mumbai is better than Delhi in terms of safety. So how do you see the cyber crime or other criminal accounts that are there? How do you see them rising there? A, B, what kind of reporting management system that you have? And sir, how do you know that certain X number of reports have been addressed or the problems have been resolved? So what is the mechanism that you are using?
So if
Over to you,
you
Shri
look at Maharashtra, actually, if you look at
Yeah.
Maharashtra, it's a highly literate state. It's a highly literate state, and it is highly digitized. If you look at government services, most of the government services are either digitized or are in process of getting digitized. And hence, here you would find that there would be higher instances of cybercrime. So when you have a higher registration, it doesn't mean that cybercrime is more here. It also means that we are more open to registering and investigating the cybercrimes.
Right.
Maharashtra took the lead and established 47 cybercrime and cyber investigation, cyber forensic labs in all districts. So we did it way back. We did it in 2014-15. So now we have a trained set of manpower with labs as good as anybody in the world. As good as anybody in the world. You go to any country, the kind of equipment, tools, procedures they have, we have something either equivalent or better. Now, everybody used to say that, are you a policeman? People have this idea of police where they feel that police is either not well trained or not very efficient. and they get these idea because they read negative articles in the press or see wrong portrayals. But believe me, if you come to any of our cybercrime labs, you would be amazed to see the proficiency, the levels of proficiency which where our officers and constables have achieved. So they are proficient with use of all tools and technologies. They can talk in the lingo in which any advanced agency of the world would talk. Uh, so we could establish these 48, 47 cybercrime labs in each district, each policing district of Maharashtra. See, we have 35 districts and 11 commissionerates, plus some special units. So everywhere we have cybercrime units with trained officers who are now investigating these cases and putting them up for prosecution and trial in the court of law. Apart from that, Triveni mentioned about 2 or 3 good initiatives which are basically in conjunction with central government efforts. One is the cybercrime.gov.in. In fact, everybody should note this website called cybercrime.gov.in. On this portal, you can basically report cybercrimes, and then they are sent to respective states and police stations where a call is taken whether an investigation can be carried out, whether it's a cognizable case or not. Because sometimes, or mostly, people at times give information about things which are not the subject of a criminal investigation, but they basically either want information or they are complaining about something which they feel is worth for police to look into. They may not, result into registration of a cognizable offense, but yet still it is a good portal for redressal of citizens' grievances. So cybercrime.gov.in is some place where people can log in their cybercrime complaints, and each state has an admin portal on their side where they have to generate a ticket, and that ticket is tracked very seriously and then respond to it in a time frame, in a limited time frame. Apart from that, Triveni also spoke about this effort, which is a joint collaboration between National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NECMEC of the USA, and National Crime Record Bureau in India, wherein any child porn material which is uploaded or child sexual abuse material which is uploaded on the various social media platforms, so which is a crime, which is also a violation of uh, IT Act, IPC, and sections of the POCSO. So this is then given with evidence from the NECMEC to MHA in India, and MHA then gives it to states, and the states then look into it, find out whether it should be investigated, and they conduct their own investigations. In fact, Maharashtra undertook this huge exercise called Operation Blackface, wherein they registered FIRs in districts and found out who these people were who were engaging in uploading of this child pornography material. So various kinds of technological initiatives are being taken. There is now good coordination with more central initiatives, like on social media. Mumbai Police has one of the highest followed accounts where they are very responsive in real time. They take in people's complaints and respond to them on Twitter itself, and they have millions and millions of followers there. So this is one thing. Apart from that, then MHA has its own Twitter handle called CyberDost, where they give cyber tips. And there's a mechanism called CyCoord, Cyber Coordination, which works from the MHA as a coordination mechanism between different states. So let us say that there are some cyber criminals which Triveni is pursuing, and they happen to have some footprint in Maharashtra or vice versa. Then we can coordinate through cyber coordination, that is CyCoord. So a lot of new initiatives you see are taking place, wherein technology is being used, and the government is striving to enhance its efficiency and deliver better services to people. Aishwarya.
Mm. Thank you so very much, because you have very rightly said that the fact that in X number of reports are reported, documented, doesn't mean that the crime rate has increased. Basically, people have started utilizing, leveraging on the technology platform that we have. Professor Triveni, because as Shri Brijay Singh has very rightly mentioned that the team has to be robust, they are like competent, they understand, and they can just compete with any other international agencies when it comes to doing their job. What is the kind of capacity building exercise that you are also looking at in your state for
There
your
is no
people?
doubt. There is no doubt that Maharashtra cyber is wonderful. It can compare itself with best in world. And Brijesh sir has always been like a mentor and guide for us. And what initiative he took long back in Maharashtra government, we are just following. Just trying to model that, because he created such a huge infra, the cyber police station, like cyber lab in 47 districts at one go. And then I think recently, just 2 3 years back, he created such a network that it was not available all over India in none of the states. So Maharashtra stands number one. We are just following sir. Always we talk to sir and take his advice and his guidance in. So what we are doing nowadays, we are creating one advanced cyber lab at cyber headquarters in Lucknow, and 18 basic cyber lab, which is going to be established in just 2 3 months at 18 police stations. As far as training and capacity building is concerned, as I told you earlier, we have outsourced few people. They are training our people in cyber forensic, and we are running a different course in cyber crime investigation, which are included not only forensic but cyber law and investigation tools and techniques. We are taking support of some ethical hackers and some infosec professionals. They come, they teach our policemen what are the basic nitty gritty of the technology, be it hardware or yeah. We are using even open source intelligence tool, and we are training our people over that. So not as good as Maharashtra. I don't have any hesitation in accepting that, but we are trying to build it like that. Okay.
Sir, it is really important. I mean, what you have rightly, aptly said that we have to learn from each other. The best practices need to be shared, and each state has its own set of challenges. And the setup, the opportunities, the readiness is also very important here. But the willingness to take it up and go out and do it for people is also very important. While we have received two questions that we can see on our chat forum, which I'll take up. But I just have had quick questions, sir. I'll ask one question. I'll try and put the pointers together in that question, and you can just uh, answer that, and we will be after the question. We can conclude the session as well. So, during the COVID time. Was there any role for your department to take up? A, both of you. B, also anything that how do you see the reports are resolved, because there is nothing that we see as public. We do not, first of all, we do not know, and thank you for sharing that link, the website link that you mentioned, Shri Vijay Singh sir, cybercrime.gov.in, that you have mentioned, and we should actually populate this web link that is being floated by the government of India. And so that was one thing. And there are so many questions that are coming up one by one. So what are your thoughts on addressing the cyber attack issue? How can we digitally safe from cyber attacks? What should we do to save ourselves from cyber attacks? And digital India, and on the other hand, there are many fold increases in cybercrime. Will this number decrease in future, or it will go hand in hand? So, of course, while on the one hand we are talking about digital India transformation and lot of technology innovations, AI, IoT, everywhere, everything is happening. That is one part of it. The other is the cyber crime, the attack is also increasing. How are we leveraging on the data that is available, abundance of data that is available to us? And so last but not the least, in the entire course of discussions that we have had, we were it came very pertinently was police department has a lot of data, and other departments also have, the water department, irrigation, everybody has data sets, but somehow the data sets are kept in silos. Nothing is happening in, within department or interdepartment or interdepartment I should not be saying, but interdepartment, nothing much is happening. So how do you see this? I mean, this is a challenge. Vijay Singh, sir.
So lot of questions, and probably they would require a day to answer if I want to answer each of them. But look, it's like this, that digitization is not a choice today, and you have to digitize. In COVID, you saw that with effective lockdowns, then almost everything in the world shifted to digital platforms. Right from bringing your food to banking to your financial transactions, everything shifted to a digital platform. And the kind of digitization that could have taken place in the next 5 years had done in 4 months. Now, if you look at some figures like, let's say, Aadhaar, so just the amount of money saved with Aadhaar, with direct beneficiary transfers, is in the tune of 1 lakh crores. This used to be and going into the accounts of beneficiaries. And if you look at all the world platforms, almost been breached. Twitter has been breached, Yahoo has been breached, Google has been breached, Facebook has been breached. So breaches will happen. We have to have a risk management framework. Even for smart cities, you will have to have a risk management framework where your IoT devices will be attacked. If you are a bank or a fintech, it starts with you, that you make secure software because you are providing these services to people. And he or she lost money. It is go and blame the user or say deficiencies of security in your platform. So you have to have defense in depth, security by design. While you are making the software, while you are making these processes, you have to build security by design into them. See, it comes to police at last. So once let's say a phishing attack has happened, or a social engineer sitting somewhere in a call center in rural India has fleeced somebody by taking away their OTP, the police comes last here. There are lots of layers which have failed, consistently failed. And it is time that these layers are addressed, beginning with something called KYC, know your customer. So when Triveni would bail me out on this, that when you start investigating, you go in, you are stuck with either an account or a social media avatar, or a telephone number. Now what happens beyond that? Beyond that, there is no traceability. Now if you want to investigate, you would need to have traceability, that whom does this number belong to. If you cannot link that number to a person, if that number has been obtained, or if that account has been opened, or if that social media profile has been is an impersonation or has been generated using fake documents, then what do? You are stuck at that investigation, and it severely limits the kind of evidence that you can gather from these investigations. Apart from that, sometimes the data is on foreign servers, and then it becomes a very complicated thing to get data from anything which is hosted outside, because then there are mutual legal treaties, letter-o-gatories, this, that. All these mechanisms are very slow, and the cyber criminals collaborate in real time. They are taking advantage of innovation. They are sharing tools and techniques and malware. And cyber crime as a service is evolving in the darknet. There are transactions of money in bitcoins. So this is an evolving world where we need changes in legal systems, changes in the way we address crime, changes in the way we make software, changes in the way we treat our customers. So this will have to be a collaborative effort. To police, it will come at last, and where you will have to enable the police to get evidence. One good development that is coming is the personal data protection regulation, where the citizens' data is at the center stage, and this will also bring in most probably something called data localization, where my citizens' data would be in my country. Today, there are platforms which house 300, 400 million of our customers of people from my country. But if I, let's say, want to investigate a child case or a case where money of a senior citizen has been taken, then you are stuck with this wall of the company saying that, oh, it's not according to our company policies. And I have always said this, that my country's sovereignty cannot be subject to your company policies. So these are things which needed to be sorted out, and I think they will be sorted out in due course. But let me tell you that there is sincerity of purpose, and there are officers everywhere. You see Triveni working. Similarly, there are officers in every state who are committed, who are competent, and who are wanting to deliver better services to citizens. Aishwarji.
Thank you so much. Actually, you have answered all my questions, to be honest, and I think I have taken down notes and will try to sum it up. But before that, I would like to also request Professor Singh to reflect on this as to what are your views on how do we address or how do we keep ourselves digitally safe from cyber attacks, and the number of cases are increasing while we are talking about digital transformation on the one hand, what kind of data sharing or coordination that is happening across within the government function departments.
Yeah, as you asked about what was during COVID-19 period.
Yes, sir, COVID is
So
also very important.
what we did, UP Police have created a web-based application that is called UP Cop. So you can go on Play Store, you can download this UP Cop application, and you can file your cybercrime cases sitting inside your room. And any kind of police station, police assistance you can request on that particular mobile application itself. So what we did in COVID-19, we started a campaign among the public. It just download this application through media, through speeches and conferences and electronic media. Okay, this is the application. You download, you register your complaint, and the police is going to assist you. As far as technical and legal challenges which are coming up in investigation is concerned, Brijesh sir has spoken at length. He has talked about. I personally feel that not only national level coordination, we need international collaboration, and that too in real time. There has to be some mechanism so that we can share our concern, our data, our metadata, our records in real time. Only then we can fight against these cyber criminals. Sometimes they have become so organized. It becomes a matter of several countries, not only states. The server is somewhere, the criminal is somewhere, the account is somewhere else. So multi-country are involved in a single crime. That's why we need such kind of mechanism which we can talk, we can seek assistance in real time. Only then we can become successful in countering this kind of cyber criminals. We are organized, and they have made a syndicate of a kind. They have gone onto the dark web. Then we need a different kind of expertise. We need different kind of tools and techniques to analyze the data, to implant our decoy in dark web. We need what is happening in ransomware attack cases. The crime is so sophisticated by nature. Even crypto analysts are not in a position to help us, because in all the ransomware attack cases, the law enforcement agency become helpless. Even if we want to take help from others, they are not in a position to decrypt this kind of malware and their encryption. So as Brijesh had told that they are seeking, they are trying to ask money in Bitcoin. They don't want money to be deposited in a bank or a wallet. They want it to be in Bitcoin. And if you are paying someone in Bitcoin, then traceability is almost impossible, because I haven't seen any case in which somebody paid in Bitcoin to some fraudster and they have recovered the money, or even to be more specific, we have not been able to backtrack those criminals who have taken the money. So this kind of cryptocurrency and this kind of advanced ransomware attack, this high tech cyber breach cases, it's a really it's giving a lot of challenge to law enforcement agency. And we are all the time we are trying to update our knowledge or skill set. Even then, I think there is a lot that has to be done at central state level, in terms of some legal mechanism, in terms of some direction to ISPs and TSPs to keep data in certain formats. If somebody is not providing us assistance in decrypting their code, then they should be severely punished. And there is a provision in IT Act. I personally feel that there has to be some more stringent punishment provisions in IT Act, and only then, and there has to be some global mechanism to deal with. Only then we can be successful. Thank you.
So very aptly answered. And if I have to sum this up, as Brijesh sir has very rightly mentioned, that there are security breaches that will happen. It's really important we take care of the security, the entire issue of security, the design at the design level itself. It has to be secured. The protocols, the standards have to be complied to, or to be followed. And also there are many layers before it comes to, it actually goes to the police. The reporting happens to the police department. That is where all the layers have failed, and that's how you come to a point where there's nothing left. There's no traceability as well, so it becomes all the more difficult. So it's better that we actually take care of the KYCs, and the customers have to be taken seriously. The software issues are there, so all these transformation is not all about technology, but it has to be done in terms of processes, the practices, the people, the understanding, the mindset is important. The legal enforcement is very important in this case. If unless we have stringent legal what do you call that, coercive, law has a coercive nature, so it has to be enforced effectively. Otherwise we cannot set an example, because somebody is sitting in one corner of the globe doing something to the other person, and somebody is sitting in the other part of the globe, and it doesn't fall. So there is no boundary when it comes to cybercrime or such crimes which are absolutely beyond the geographical boundaries. Thank you so much, sir. There are so many initiatives that you have taken under your leadership, and Maharashtra is definitely, the more the literate people are, the more sophisticated the crimes are. But as you said, the purpose of service is absolutely there, and we salute you. We thank you for joining us and for giving us a very short account of what you are doing. And thank you so much for joining us, sir. We thank you. Thank you, Professor Triveni Singh, sir. Thank you so much. Wonderful thing. And we are going to populate the government links that you have actually shared with us. We should be doing it as media forum. We should. It's our responsibility also to take your.
Sir, Jai Hind, sir.
Yes. So, Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Greetings, sir. Yes, sir. With this, we close this session. Thank you so much.
Yes.